Story 1. When playing Monopoly as a kid with my grandma, I put the top hat on the thimble to create the businessman, Mr. Thimble, which became a lot of usernames in memory of her. It never did make me any better at Monopoly, though. Story 2. I work a full-time job, manage a hobby farm, do a lot of volunteer work, coach youth sports, build custom furniture, and am raising 3 kids. I'm in a constant state of being overwhelmed, but also feel like I need to work harder. Telling people no is difficult for me. Story 3. Playing the original SimCity on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. My kid self struggled to do well without all the online guides we have today. So I would keep restarting and naming my cities random 2-word names that fit in the space allowed. Pinstar was the name of the city when I finally got it and grew the city to a metropolis. At around that time, we got America Online version 1.0 for the first time, and I was asked to come up with a screen name. So Pinstar became my online handle for everything, including Reddit. Story 4. Patrick Stewart did it. Edit. I forgot about the background sound in that scene. My dogs freaked out and now my head hurts. Story 5. Killjoy is a name I've been using since the original Xbox. God is God of Destruction from Dragon Ball Super. So my username is God of Destruction Killjoy. Story 6. Played a Dungeons and Dragons character in college named Connery. Cleric, good guy, did the whole accent for like a year and a half. At one point, I teleported an enemy to another plane, which caused a chain reaction, and all the good-aligned gods in that universe died or disappeared. Then an angel tracked down Connery and ripped his soul apart. So the nickname is more sarcastic, really. Story 7. Dr. Dankenstein is a play on Dr. Frankenstein, inspired by the copious amounts of weed I smoke. The name was taken, and there's a 5th generation tower right outside my building, so I added that to the end. Story 8. It was my fantasy football name for years. Like Bolton Wanderers, I'm the Wanking Wanderers. But then fantasy football started censoring names, and I had to change it. This is the last bastion of uncensored usernames. Story 9. I normally go by Pix as my handle in games. In a massively multiplayer online game I played, I was often crazy lucky with drops, with other players joking I stole their luck. Taking me on a raid meant they had to pay me in luck, a Pixtax. Story 10. I was prancing around in the staff room, wafting my arms after a manic day in the classroom. Another teacher came in and laughed and said, "Where's your feather boa, Dolores Fandango?" Story 11. I just tried to summarize myself as a whole in as short of a phrase as possible. Too young to be this old because I made poor decisions early in life and had to learn how to sink or swim on my own. Is my full name. Story 12. I had a 10-year account, then I got a ban due to an overzealous moderator in another account. Appeal denied. So I started a new one, Sweet Sexy Jesus. That lasted a year until another overzealous moderator got me banned. Then I went with Sweet Sexier Jesus. That lasted a week. Turns out some subreddits log your IP address in case you comment in there again and someone is paying attention. So here I am on the 3rd iteration, Sweet Sexiest Jesus. And I don't comment in that one subreddit that has a problem when you say the word female. Story 13. Way back in the 90s, I was trying to think of a username. Obviously, the name I wanted, Joe, was taken everywhere. I figured I'd do Joe forwards then backward, Juge. Seemed a bit boring, so I added IE. Story 14. Many years ago, I tapped a keyboard a few times, removed letters until it sounded somewhat like a pronounceable word, then added vowels until it made sense. Then I just used that for everything since. Story 15. Mine is a reference to a Linux distribution. It was a nickname given to me when I joined a hobbyist club for it in the 1990s. Recently, I found that people think it's a political reference, which is not the case. Story 16. I wanted to be totally anonymous and pick something stupid 12 years ago when someone told me about this website where people post pictures of their poop for laughs. And here we are. Story 17. I was playing a game where it automatically populated an image for the player and I got a llama. So when asked who I was, I said I was a llama. And then I think the correct spelling was taken. I don't really remember why I did the misspelling or if it was an accident. Story 18. I did not want to represent myself in any way since it is unlikely I will start making my own stuff to post regularly on Reddit, like artists or musicians. I am here for the insanity going on here. Story 19. I wanted onioner as in one who onions. But that was taken, so I went for the act of onions. Basically, onions are foundational to almost every cuisine on earth. Damn you, gynists. And I love the simple foundational elements. Story 20. A hilarious error ordering ice cream in French. I said, debout phrase, stand up strawberry, instead of deux boules de fraise, 2 scoops of strawberry. Probably not that funny unless you were there in the moment, but whatever. Story 21. I did the same thing as everyone else and picked it based off something I like, but with the added step of using Google Translate to make the phrase Hawaiian so it sounds cooler. Story 22. People called me a gorilla for a multitude of reasons. People called me the jolly green giant for a multitude of reasons. I have a gorilla, a jolly gorilla. And since there is no other, I am the jolly gorilla. Story 23. My old friends in high school started playing League of Legends. They had a team where players used their console control scheme from Nintendo 64 days. My old controller was the clear purple, but there was already a purple controller. I also had the clear purple Game Boy, so I chose clear controller. Our team was red controller, green controller, purple controller, clear controller, and my goodness, we were terrible. Only red and purple were good. Story 24. Learned what a grundle is and thought of Grindelwald or whatever the dude's name is, but unfortunately it isn't original even though I thought of it on my own. It's not only my Reddit username, I use it for almost everything. Story 25. Oscal reversed is Lexo. The O is just a masculine suffix. Lex, like Lex, is my second first name, Alex, and 95 is, well, just an arbitrary choice. I had a strange feeling I've seen it in a movie. And yeah, kinda spooky, my vague memory was right. It's Lightning McQueen's Number, one of my favorite childhood movies. Story 26. I chose my screen name decades ago because no one else would want or have it, and I wouldn't have to add any numbers. I've been using it everywhere ever since. Story 27. I learned about carnivorous butterflies and vampire moths. I love moths, and figured one day I'll be eaten by a bunch of bugs, which I thought was pretty cool. Story 28. Pretty sure there is a sock monster in the dryer that eats socks, so I memorialized it for the minimal karma gains to offset the sad reality of always losing them. Story 29. Back in the days of yore, I created a profile on the website Destructoid because I found their brand of snarky content more entertaining than places like Joystick and Brian Craichen's Hair Palace, sorry Kotaku, that took themselves way too seriously at times. I've always hated coming up with names and didn't expect to be particularly active in regards to posting. So I just used the song that was playing as I was signing up, Suffocating Sight by Trivium. Eventually, I did start becoming more active, mainly in the unhinged YM and M's chat that they maintained on Stickum. One of the regulars was particularly drunk one day and started calling me Suffocat because his inebriated brain couldn't process the rest. And it was amusing enough that I decided to just run with it and make it my official name. Most people assume it's just a play on Sylvester the Cat saying, suffering succotash. But every now and then I come across a person who thinks I'm advocating for strangling cats, and I can't help but wonder what the hell is wrong with their brains that is the first conclusion they jump to. Almost like a Rorschach test in word form, I suppose. Story 30. Full username on other things is Enchanted Shears. A unique item one would create in Minecraft, but it's all in the eyes of the beholder. If you think I'm worth keeping around even when I'm not the most useful, then I love you. Story 31. I thought that if Hilbert had infinite babies, it would be pretty funny. I thought it would also be pretty funny to be the second in Hilbert's infinite roster of babies. Story 32. We were leaving the house when my wife commented on how dark it was outside. I was at the bottom of the stairs and turned to face her while she locked up. I started walking backwards towards the car, telling her, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." I then tripped over the trash bins. She laughed and called me her trash bin warrior. Every time we're out and come across a trash bin, she jumps behind me, howling for me to protect her. Never gets old. Story 33. I had this anonymous username that I used on one of my email accounts to get membership of an online certificate collection website. I just started reusing it then. Story 34. Well, I am a misanthrope, so I figured I would let people in on that tidbit from the start. Then I wondered how I could make the word misanthrope more interesting, and after some deliberation, I decided to add the inatter ending. Not yet satisfied, I then added "to" the end of the name because why not? I think it sums up my approach to Reddit. I am misanthropic, I am here to destroy those that oppose my point of view, and I am also the pinnacle of the series. Story 35. It's been my gamer tag for over a decade. It's a silly math pun that sometimes makes teachers say my name without knowing, and it's unique enough to be available on every platform I've tried. Story 36. Honestly, I've used the name virtually everywhere in one form or another since I was in first grade. I'm 44 now. I can count on two fingers the number of times that Phil16723 has been unavailable to me in that entire time period, and no, the numbers were not randomly generated the first time I used them. They date back to a color by number coloring book page from a project spelling "Have a Happy New Year," and the 5 digits represented my Hebrew name transliterated. Story 37. I was going through a deep depression and couldn't leave my room. My room has always been my comfort zone, and I looked around thinking of another way to describe it. The first thing I thought was, this place is familiar. Then I thought of another word for room, and lair came to mind. When I looked at it all together, I noticed at first glance it looked like it said, familiar liar. I kind of thought it fit since I used to lie all the time when I was in my alcohol addiction. Past that now, thankfully. Story 38. This one was auto-generated on my phone because I couldn't remember my password for my main account and couldn't be bothered. I don't mind it. My other is a chosen combination of an old website and a username. Story 39. The original Microsoft autocorrect at the dawn of time used to change my name to this. I had to change it back on schoolwork every single day. Kind of stuck. Story 40. I chose to use my real name to help prevent myself from becoming an internet troll. I engage in far fewer unnecessary conversations or say things I shouldn't because there's no anonymity. Story 41. Back in the day, I was a big Typo Negative fan, and I believe I read on their website that frontman Peter Steele's nickname was Green Lurch. But I now doubt that and wonder if I did not just combine Green Man and Lurch on my own. Story 42. My favorite poem is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, where he repeats several times the phrase, "Quoth the raven nevermore." But when I tried to register my name, the phrase was already in use. I tried to register in several ways using that phrase, and it wouldn't allow me. So, in the end, I opted for Raven Quoth. Story 43. I am a woman who smoked a lot of weed in my early to mid-30s. Basically, I smoked 5 days a week and took the weekends off. Yes, I know, slightly backwards. I love green. Story 44. It was a nickname I had in middle school because I was always hiding my face behind my hair, but I did not like it then. Sometime after, I heard a song by Florence and the Machine with the same name, and I started to accept it. Story 45. This was an alternate meme account for me to spread mild lies years ago. I forgot my other login, and I am using this as my main since coming back to Reddit. Stop lying, so my username is irrelevant now. Story 46. This might be stupid, but it made sense to me at the time. So shadows can appear in a variety of colors, but we typically think of them as black. I thought, black shadow. Then I thought, if I change it to the opposite of black, then it would be white shadow, and you can't see a white shadow. It is basically invisible, like it doesn't even exist. I liked the anonymity of it. Story 47. I was wearing plaid pajamas and playing ska music on the guitar. Maybe it was jamming by Bob Marley or just influenced by the song. So, pajamas and ska and jamming like people who jam to ska. Story 48. I joined Reddit for a very specific music subreddit that always joked about hating violists. Middle school me thought I could prove them wrong with my username, laughing my ass off. Story 49. My first plant systematics class learned some flowering plant species will have twisted stigmas, and I just loved that it sounded like a band name or something. Story 50. A splice of nicknames from my husband. Mad Queen comes from a character I created that, on occasion, goes by the title Mad Queen, even though she isn't officially in the position yet. Her adoptive father is known as the Mad King because people thought he was insane for setting up his kingdom where he did because of its location. My husband is the one who dungeon masters for these Dungeons and Dragons games, so he has helped me build the character's lore. Moxie is one of the names I prefer to go by instead of my legal name. It comes from the soda Moxie. I'm from Massachusetts, not Maine. Not the Borderlands character, Mad Moxie. I added the extra X because I thought it looked better. Story 51. I have 2 accounts, one not safe for work, this one, LOL, and one safe for work that are both very similar and are parodies of my nickname and IMVU account name. I love my nickname. Story 52. In the early 1990s, my friend and I thought we were the only people we knew who could get online. There was this build-your-own-game type game called ZZT that was really simple to build levels, and my friend and I thought we would be able to sell these games to other people. It was like our virtual lemonade stand. I downloaded America Online before anybody had even heard of it from a free disk I found, and we launched JoJo Software, named after my friend Jesse's cousin JoJo. Even though it fizzled out quickly, my siblings and parents eventually joined America Online too, and my silly name was the master account and couldn't be changed without deleting everyone's profiles. It soon became an online pseudonym that I liked because it had nothing to do with me or my name. Also, it sounds like JoJo from Jodeci before he gets hard. Okay, I just ruined it.